Doctors spent decades studying medicine. The internet studied 3 Facebook comments and a juice cleanse. Before we begin this beautiful parade of medical nonsense, subscribe to our Telegram channel. The link is waiting in the description below. That's where we post bonus stories, weird facts, and enough absurdity to make your family doctor quietly sigh into a clipboard. Now grab your vitamins, cancel your miracle detox tea, and let's dissect the medical myths humanity refuses to let die. 1. Cold weather gives you a cold. Every winter, millions of Americans walk outside without a jacket for 6 seconds, and suddenly their mother appears spiritually beside them screaming, "You'll catch pneumonia!" Somehow, cold air became public enemy number 1, like winter itself is personally sneezing into people's lungs. But the actual culprit behind colds is viruses. Tiny, microscopic freeloaders hitching rides on coughs, doorknobs, and that guy in Walmart who coughs directly into the atmosphere like he's launching spores for NASA. Cold weather can help viruses spread because people crowd indoors like canned sardines during football season. But the temperature itself isn't the villain. If freezing air alone caused illness, Canadians would have gone extinct sometime around 1987. Meanwhile, kids still sprint outside in shorts during snowstorms because children are biologically immune to common sense. And honestly, if cold weather caused sickness directly, every man grilling burgers during a January playoff game would immediately collapse beside the propane tank. Humanity really looked at germs and said, "Nah, I blame wind." 2. Cracking your knuckles causes arthritis. This myth has survived longer than some civilizations. Entire generations grew up hearing that cracking your knuckles would eventually turn your hands into dry tree branches from a haunted forest. Teachers hated it. Parents hated it. Every office worker within a 10-foot radius hated it. The sound alone made people react like somebody snapped a spaghetti noodle inside a cathedral. But science eventually stepped in and ruined decades of dramatic warnings. Knuckle cracking doesn't cause arthritis. The sound comes from gas bubbles popping inside joint fluid, which somehow sounds disgusting and weirdly satisfying at the same time. Researchers even studied chronic knuckle crackers for years and found no meaningful connection to arthritis. One doctor famously cracked the knuckles on only one hand for over 60 years just to prove the point. Imagine dedicating your entire scientific legacy to annoying one hand more than the other. That's commitment. Now, your grip strength might weaken slightly over time if you do it excessively, but arthritis? Nope. Your grandma's warning was medically inaccurate. Emotionally powerful, yes. Scientifically, about as reliable as WebMD telling you your headache is probably medieval plague. Still, people hear one crack and instantly look around like someone just stepped on a duck. 3. You need to drink 8 glasses of water every day. At some point, society collectively decided that every human body operates exactly like a neglected houseplant. Suddenly, everyone carried gallon-sized water bottles like they were crossing the Sahara instead of sitting in traffic outside a Target. If you drank less than 8 glasses a day, people acted like your organs were shriveling like raisins in a forgotten lunchbox. The problem? The famous 8 glasses rule was never really based on hard science. Hydration needs vary wildly, depending on your size, diet, activity level, climate, and whether you just ate an entire family-sized bag of salty pretzels while watching reruns of Wheel of Fortune. Your body already has a built-in hydration alarm system called thirst, which humanity somehow decided to ignore in favor of carrying emotional support tumblers the size of fire extinguishers. And yes, water matters, obviously. But people started treating dehydration like an instant death sentence. Office workers began announcing hydration status every 20 minutes like weather reports. "I'm behind on water today" became modern adult guilt right next to not answering emails. Meanwhile, coffee, fruit, soup, and countless foods already contain water. Your body isn't a cactus running on strict measuring cups. Somehow, hydration became less about health and more about participating in the world's wettest cult. 4. Reading in the dark ruins your eyes. Every kid who ever tried reading a comic book under the blankets with a flashlight eventually heard the same warning: keep doing that and you'll need glasses forever. Parents delivered this line with the confidence of medieval prophets predicting doom from the heavens. Somehow, dim lighting became treated like a direct attack on human eyesight, right up there with staring at the sun or shopping at a gas station sushi counter. But reading in low light doesn't permanently damage your eyes. It can absolutely strain them temporarily. Your eyes get tired, dry, and annoyed, like overworked employees during holiday retail season. You may end up with headaches or blurry vision for a little while, but permanent damage? Nope. Your eyeballs aren't fragile Victorian antiques that shatter under weak lamp conditions. The irony is that generations survived reading tiny TV guide print in dim living rooms, while cigarette smoke floated through the air like haunted fog. Yet somehow, the flashlight was the dangerous part. This myth survived because eye strain feels dramatic. People squint for 5 minutes and immediately assume they've aged 40 years. Meanwhile, teenagers spend 9 straight hours staring into phones at maximum brightness and somehow still function like raccoons fueled by energy drinks. Human vision is tougher than parents gave it credit for. 5. Sugar makes kids hyperactive. Birthday parties have looked like tiny riots for decades. Kids sprinting into walls, screaming at invisible enemies, and emotionally collapsing because someone got the blue cupcake instead of the green one. Naturally, society blamed sugar. Cookies became the official scapegoat for every chaotic child behavior since roughly the invention of frosting. But study after study found little evidence that sugar directly causes hyperactivity in most children. What actually creates the chaos is the environment surrounding sugary foods. Think about it. Kids usually eat cake at birthday parties, carnivals, Halloween events, pizza arcades, and places where adults already surrendered control hours earlier. Of course, children act insane. A grown man in a mouse costume is throwing tickets at them while YMCA blasts through speakers from 1994. In many experiments, parents who believed their children consumed sugar rated them as more hyperactive, even when the kids secretly received sugar-free drinks. That's right. The myth became so powerful, adults started hallucinating behavioral changes, like exhausted detectives in a crime drama. Meanwhile, some children naturally possess the energy of malfunctioning fireworks regardless of diet. Sugar didn't create that tornado. It just happened to arrive moments before the tornado touched down. Honestly, blaming one cupcake for a child bouncing off furniture is like blaming ketchup for NASCAR. 6. You only use 10% of your brain. This myth refuses to die because people desperately want to believe they're one motivational speech away from becoming psychic geniuses. The idea sounds amazing. Somewhere inside your skull is a giant unused supercomputer just waiting to activate after enough meditation, positive thinking, or suspicious YouTube seminars hosted by men wearing velvet blazers. Hollywood absolutely devoured this myth. Movies convinced audiences that unlocking the rest of your brain would let you predict the future, stop bullets, or transform into a glowing energy wizard floating above downtown Chicago. Reality is far less cinematic. Brain scans show humans use virtually every part of the brain throughout the day, just not all at once. Your brain is constantly multitasking like an exhausted diner waitress during Sunday brunch. Different regions handle different jobs: movement, memory, emotions, language, survival instincts, and probably the part responsible for remembering embarrassing moments from 8th grade at 2 a.m. Yeah, if humans truly used only 10% of the brain, neurologists would be the happiest people alive because brain injuries would barely matter. Instead, tiny areas of damage can drastically affect speech, coordination, or personality. Turns out the brain isn't an empty warehouse waiting for hidden powers. It's already working overtime, keeping you alive while you argue with strangers online about air fryer recipes. Still, people love this myth because it whispers something irresistible. You're secretly special. Humanity will believe almost anything if it sounds like a movie trailer. 7. Shaving makes hair grow back thicker. This myth has terrified teenagers for generations. One innocent shave and suddenly, people act like your body hair will return looking like a 1970s game show host. Entire middle school health conversations sounded like warnings about unleashing ancient curses. "Don't shave too early," adults whispered, as if razors opened portals to aggressive chest hair. But shaving doesn't change the thickness, color, or growth rate of hair. The illusion happens because razors cut hair bluntly. Freshly shaved hair grows back with a rough edge instead of the naturally tapered tip it had before. So when it returns, it feels thicker and darker, kind of like freshly cut grass compared to soft, overgrown weeds. Humanity basically got tricked by geometry. The funniest part is how emotionally committed people remain to this myth despite decades of evidence. Entire beauty industries thrive on panic about stubble. Commercials show people touching their legs like forensic investigators examining carpet fibers. One missed shave, and suddenly everyone behaves like civilization is collapsing. Meanwhile, men shave their faces for decades and somehow don't evolve into werewolves by retirement age. If shaving truly amplified hair growth, every grandfather in America would look like a sentient Brillo pad by age 70. The razor industry owes half its profits to collective paranoia and bathroom lighting. 8. Starving a fever helps you recover. Feed a cold, starve a fever. Humanity heard this phrase once in the 1500s and apparently decided, excellent, no further questions. For centuries, sick people were treated like malfunctioning farm equipment. Got a fever? Fantastic. Time to avoid food while your body already feels like it's fighting demons in a medieval dungeon. Modern medicine, however, has some disappointing news for old-timey wisdom. Your body actually needs hydration and nutrition when you're sick. Fever increases energy demands because your immune system is basically entering full combat mode. Refusing to eat during illness is like preparing firefighters for battle by taking away their sandwiches and locking the water fountain. Now, people often lose appetite naturally during sickness, which is normal. Nobody wants a cheeseburger while sweating through pajamas and hallucinating that the ceiling fan is judging them personally. But intentionally starving yourself doesn't magically speed recovery. This myth survived because old medical advice loved dramatic suffering. Historical treatments included bloodletting, mercury, and occasionally drilling holes into skulls. So honestly, the "don't eat soup" crowd was somehow still one of the calmer groups. And let's be honest, chicken soup has probably healed more human emotions than half the fake remedies sold on daytime television. Sometimes grandma was right, just not about everything. 9. You can sweat out toxins. At some point, humanity decided the body works like a dirty t-shirt. Apparently, all you need to do is sit inside a boiling wooden closet, sweat aggressively into a towel, and suddenly your organs become spiritually purified like a rebooted computer. This belief launched an entire empire of detox teas, sauna influencers, and yoga retreats where everyone looks permanently dehydrated, yet somehow smug about it. But sweat's primary job is cooling your body down, not blasting poison out like a biological car wash. Your liver and kidneys already handle detoxification full-time, quietly working harder than underpaid night shift employees at a 24-hour diner. Sweat contains tiny traces of waste products, sure, but the idea that one hot yoga session removes years of toxins is mostly marketing wrapped in eucalyptus steam. Still, people love this myth because sweating feels dramatic. If something hurts and produces puddles, Americans assume it must be productive. We've emotionally confused exercise with punishment since the invention of gym memberships. Meanwhile, someone spends 45 minutes inside a sauna and exits acting like they survived an ancient spiritual pilgrimage. No, Greg, you just sat in a hot box listening to whale sounds while your body desperately tried not to overheat. Your kidneys already handled the detoxing before you even found the scented towel. 10. Vitamin C prevents the common cold. Every winter, grocery stores transform into orange-flavored panic centers. Suddenly, people start swallowing enough vitamin C to qualify as citrus-based life forms. Orange juice sales skyrocket. Supplement aisles look like emergency apocalypse bunkers. Somewhere, a grandmother is forcing an exhausted child to drink fluorescent liquid from a spoon while muttering, "This'll knock it right out." The myth exploded after scientist Linus Pauling heavily promoted vitamin C in the 1970s, and America collectively responded by treating oranges like medieval healing artifacts. But decades of studies showed vitamin C usually doesn't prevent colds for most people. At best, it might slightly shorten symptoms in some cases. Slightly. We're talking one less miserable afternoon, not invincible immune warrior. The funniest part is how aggressively people attack sickness with juice. Someone sneezes once, and suddenly family members start delivering tangerines like emergency medical supplies. At this point, oranges have better PR than some pharmaceutical companies. Now, vitamin C absolutely matters for health. Deficiency causes real problems. Sailors literally got scurvy because they spent months surviving on biscuits and despair. But modern humans turned basic nutrition into a magical antivirus shield. Honestly, half the cold remedies people swear by work mainly because sick people finally rest, hydrate, and stop pretending they're fine to come into work. Nothing heals faster than staying away from Karen in accounting who coughs directly into communal muffins. 11. Chocolate causes acne. For decades, teenagers were told that one candy bar could apparently transform their face into a volcanic disaster zone overnight. Adults treated chocolate like it was a skincare supervillain lurking behind Halloween wrappers waiting to destroy prom photos. Meanwhile, puberty itself quietly stood in the corner like, oh sure, blame the Snickers bar instead of the hormone hurricane. Science eventually complicated the story. Chocolate itself isn't directly proven to cause acne in most people. Skin problems are influenced by hormones, genetics, inflammation, stress, and overall diet patterns. But humanity loves simple villains. It's easier to blame a Hershey bar than admit adolescence is basically 9 years of biological chaos wrapped in emotional instability. And honestly, teenagers already suffered enough. High school is a psychological obstacle course involving algebra, locker smells, and random gym teachers screaming about dodgeballs. Then adults arrived and confiscated the one thing providing temporary emotional stability: chocolate. The irony is, stress itself can worsen acne. So teenagers stressing about acne because they ate chocolate probably caused more problems than the chocolate ever did. Humanity accidentally created a skincare paradox powered entirely by panic. Meanwhile, adults drink wine, survive on coffee, sleep 4 hours a night, and somehow still lecture teenagers about one brownie like it's an international crisis. The real acne trigger was probably surviving sophomore year. 12. You must wait. 1 hour after eating before swimming. Every public pool in America once sounded like a lifeguard-run hostage negotiation. Kids begged to swim, parents checked imaginary clocks like prison wardens tracking parole violations. You ate 17 minutes ago, someone's dad would announce while guarding the deep end like a federal agent protecting classified information. The myth claimed swimming immediately after eating would cause severe cramps and basically drag you underwater like a dramatic scene from a low-budget disaster movie. Entire summers were lost to children sitting angrily in lawn chairs digesting hot dogs while staring at the pool like prisoners watching freedom from behind bars. But there's little evidence healthy people face serious danger from swimming after meals. Yes, digestion redirects some blood flow, and intense exercise immediately after giant meals can feel uncomfortable. But casual swimming isn't suddenly transformed into aquatic Russian roulette because you ate potato salad 12 minutes earlier. This myth survived because parents desperately needed children to calm down occasionally. Looking back, the wait an hour rule feels less like medicine and more like crowd control for exhausted adults carrying coolers and sunscreen. And honestly, after watching kids inhale corn dogs, sprint barefoot across concrete, and cannonball directly into old men doing water aerobics, maybe parents just wanted one peaceful hour where nobody screamed, "Watch this." Public pools in the 80s were basically aquatic versions of the Wild West. 13. Eggs are terrible for your heart. Few foods have experienced a public relations roller coaster quite like eggs. One decade, they were the perfect breakfast. The next decade, they were portrayed like tiny cholesterol grenades waiting to assassinate your arteries beside a plate of toast. Americans became deeply suspicious of omelets while simultaneously eating fast food cheeseburgers the size of microwave ovens. This fear exploded because eggs contain cholesterol, and for years, people assumed dietary cholesterol directly translated into blood cholesterol like some kind of mathematical curse. But modern research showed the relationship is far more complicated. For most healthy people, moderate egg consumption isn't the cardiovascular apocalypse once advertised on daytime television. The tragedy is how badly eggs suffered culturally. Entire generations grew up separating yolks like bomb technicians diffusing explosives at breakfast. Restaurants proudly offered joyless egg white omelets that tasted like edible office supplies. Meanwhile, your grandfather survived decades eating bacon, eggs, black coffee, and whatever mysterious casserole appeared at church potlucks. Somehow, he still lived long enough to yell at weather forecasts from a recliner until age 89. Nutrition science constantly changes because the human body is complicated. But society treats every food study like breaking courtroom evidence. 1 week, coffee kills you. Next week, it extends your lifespan. By Thursday, kale becomes emotionally exhausting. Honestly, eggs spent 40 years taking blame for humanity's terrible overall diet choices. 14. Microwaves destroy nutrients in food. Ever since microwaves entered kitchens, people have treated them like suspicious alien technology disguised as household appliances. Entire generations stared at spinning leftovers thinking, "There's no way invisible waves blasting my meatloaf are natural." Movies didn't help either. Hollywood basically convinced everyone radiation automatically creates superheroes, giant lizards, or lawsuits. The myth claimed microwaves destroy nutrients and turn food into lifeless radioactive sadness. But in reality, microwaving often preserves nutrients surprisingly well because it cooks quickly and uses less water than boiling. Nutrient loss happens during almost all cooking methods. Your broccoli isn't sitting there emotionally pure until the microwave arrives like a nutritional assassin. Still, people remain deeply suspicious of that humming box in the corner. Someone reheats soup for 2 minutes, and suddenly relatives start discussing toxins like conspiracy theorists in a basement bunker. The funniest part is how casually humans accepted older cooking methods. Deep frying? Totally fine. Charcoal smoke? Delicious. But the microwave? Clearly futuristic witchcraft. And let's be honest, the microwave became essential because modern adults lost patience for literally everything. Humanity collectively decided waiting 35 minutes for baked potatoes was unacceptable sometime around 1986. The microwave didn't destroy civilization. It just allowed Americans to melt cheese onto things at previously impossible speeds. That power changed us forever. 15. Natural remedies are always safer than medicine. The word natural has become the greatest marketing trick since restaurants started calling fries hand-cut rustic potatoes. People hear natural remedy and instantly imagine peaceful forests, wise grandmothers, and gentle healing powered by moonlight. Meanwhile, prescription medicine sounds cold, corporate, and vaguely threatening, like it was invented inside a laboratory run by exhausted robots. But nature is not automatically safe. Nature created poison ivy, rattlesnakes, arsenic, and mushrooms capable of sending you directly into a historical documentary titled "The Worst Camping Trip Ever." Plenty of natural substances are incredibly dangerous, while many medications go through years of testing involving scientists, regulations, and enough paperwork to crush a small horse. Yet, the internet turned everyone into part-time herbal philosophers. Suddenly, random influencers recommend onion water, charcoal smoothies, or rubbing garlic onto body parts that should never encounter garlic under any circumstances. Now, some natural remedies genuinely help. Honey can soothe coughs, ginger helps nausea. Herbal medicine absolutely has real value in some situations. But somewhere along the line, society confused natural with magically harmless. People trust mysterious jungle powder, sold by a shirtless man online, more than doctors with medical degrees and functioning malpractice insurance. Humanity looked at modern medicine surviving centuries of research and said, "Interesting, but have you considered this leaf?" 16. Humans swallow 8 spiders a year in their sleep. This myth spread across America faster than chain emails promising free Olive Garden coupons. Suddenly, millions of people went to bed convinced they were participating in some horrifying midnight spider buffet without consent. The image alone is nightmare fuel. Innocent sleeper peacefully dreaming while spiders organize tiny synchronized diving routines directly into human mouths. The problem? Spiders want absolutely nothing to do with your mouth. To them, a sleeping human is basically a giant snoring earthquake that occasionally rolls over and crushes furniture-sized objects without warning. Warm breath, vibrations, and movement make humans terrifying from a spider's perspective. Crawling voluntarily into a giant wet cave full of teeth would be like you casually vacationing inside a running garbage disposal. The story likely began as an example of how easily misinformation spreads online. Ironically, humanity proved the point by believing it instantly for decades. Still, people repeat this myth constantly because it combines 2 things humans adore: gross-out horror and fake statistics. Add a specific number like 8 spiders, and suddenly everyone treats it like sacred scientific law engraved onto cave walls. Meanwhile, the average person willingly eats gas station hot dogs at 1 a.m. but draws the line at hypothetical sleeping spiders. Human priorities remain fascinating. 17. Carrots dramatically improve night vision. Every child who hated vegetables eventually heard the same wartime propaganda disguised as parenting advice. Eat your carrots, they help you see in the dark. Adults delivered this line like carrots contained secret military technology hidden beneath orange skin. The myth actually exploded during World War II when the British military wanted to hide the existence of radar technology from enemies. British pilots suddenly became incredibly accurate at spotting German aircraft during nighttime raids. Instead of revealing advanced radar systems, officials claimed the pilots simply ate lots of carrots. Imagine being a German intelligence officer hearing, "Our planes are being detected by salad." Now, carrots absolutely contain vitamin A, which supports healthy vision. Severe deficiency can harm eyesight, but eating extra carrots won't transform you into a nocturnal owl capable of spotting raccoons from 3 zip codes away. Still, parents embraced this myth enthusiastically because vegetables needed better public relations. Children weren't exactly storming kitchens demanding steamed carrots while Twinkies existed in the same universe. The funniest part is how casually governments launched one of history's most successful vegetable marketing campaigns. Entire generations unknowingly repeated military misinformation at dinner tables for 80 years. Honestly, radar engineers deserve royalties from carrot farmers. 18. Detox foot pads. Pull toxins out overnight. Few modern scams capture humanity's desperate optimism better than detox foot pads. The promise is incredible. You stick magical patches onto your feet before bed, sleep peacefully, and wake up having apparently exorcised decades of mysterious toxins directly through your heels like a sleepy swamp creature. People peel off the pads in the morning, see disgusting brown goo, and immediately gasp like archaeologists discovering cursed treasure. "Look at all the toxins," they announce proudly, as if their feet just survived industrial chemical warfare. But the dark residue mostly comes from moisture and ingredients already inside the pads reacting overnight. Your feet didn't secretly become toxic waste disposal sites. If the human body actually removed dangerous poisons through sticky foot napkins, hospitals would look radically different. This myth survived because humans love visible proof. Nobody trusts internal organs quietly doing their jobs. But show someone a gross brown stain and suddenly they're convinced they've spiritually purified their bloodstream. Meanwhile, your liver continues working 24 hours a day like an exhausted janitor cleaning up after humanity's terrible decisions involving tequila and drive-thru tacos. The wellness industry figured out something brilliant. If you make a treatment look disgusting enough, people assume it must be effective. Honestly, humanity would probably buy detox socks if they smelled faintly like peppermint and regret. 19. Holding in sneezes is harmless. Somewhere in every office, church, or movie theater sits a person desperately trying to suppress a sneeze like they're defusing a bomb in public. Their entire face compresses into panic while their soul briefly exits the body. Society collectively decided sneezing loudly is embarrassing, so millions of humans now risk turning their own skulls into pressure cookers for politeness. But holding in sneezes can actually be dangerous. Sneezes launch air at surprisingly intense speeds, and trapping that pressure inside can occasionally injure ears, blood vessels, or even throats in rare extreme cases. Doctors have documented people damaging eardrums and rupturing tissues because they tried to silence one aggressive sneeze during meetings. The body created sneezes for a reason. Your nose basically becomes a biological leaf blower, ejecting irritants at highway speeds. It's violent, chaotic, and deeply inconvenient, exactly how nature designed most survival mechanisms. Still, modern humans continue treating sneezes like social failures. Someone sneezes too loudly and immediately apologizes to the room like they accidentally fired a cannon indoors. Meanwhile, dads everywhere still produce sneezes powerful enough to trigger car alarms and emotionally reset nearby pets. Honestly, suppressing a sneeze feels like arguing with your own nervous system. Your body already scheduled the explosion. You're just standing there holding the lid down, hoping for the best. That strategy rarely ends well in human history. 20. Alcohol kills brain cells instantly. Health classes once described alcohol like it was liquid dynamite for the brain. One sip of cheap beer, and apparently thousands of brain cells immediately exploded, like tiny fireworks inside your skull. Teachers delivered these warnings with the dramatic energy of disaster movie narrators describing incoming asteroids. Heavy alcohol abuse absolutely harms the brain over time. Long-term excessive drinking can damage memory, cognition, coordination, and overall health in terrifying ways. But the simplistic "every drink murders brain cells instantly" idea isn't really accurate. Alcohol mainly disrupts communication between brain cells rather than causing immediate microscopic massacres every Friday night during football season. The myth survived because humans love visual metaphors. Tiny dying brain cells made anti-drinking campaigns feel cinematic and horrifying. Unfortunately, teenagers then met adults who drank wine every weekend, yet somehow still operated lawnmowers and paid taxes, which complicated the messaging slightly. The real irony is alcohol's biggest danger often isn't direct brain damage. It's convincing perfectly normal adults that karaoke, online shopping, or texting exes at 1:14 a.m. suddenly qualify as excellent ideas. Humanity created an entire culture around a substance that temporarily lowers decision-making abilities, then acts shocked when bad decisions happen. Honestly, the liver deserves an honorary medal for surviving bachelor parties alone. 21. You can catch a cold from wet hair. For generations, mothers treated wet hair like an active biological weapon. Leave the house after a shower, and suddenly everyone over age 50 reacted like you were marching barefoot into a blizzard carrying cursed amulets. Dry your hair became less of a suggestion and more of an emergency national security briefing. The belief feels logical at first. Cold temperatures and wet conditions make people uncomfortable. Therefore, sickness must follow. But viruses cause colds, not damp hairstyles. You cannot simply manufacture illness because your scalp resembles a recently washed golden retriever. Now, being cold for long periods might slightly stress the body under certain conditions, and viruses spread more easily in winter environments. But wet hair itself isn't summoning respiratory infections like some shampoo-based dark magic. Still, the myth persists because everybody remembers one suspicious coincidence. Someone went outside with wet hair once, got sick 3 days later, and immediately built an entire scientific conclusion from one unfortunate Tuesday in 1998. Meanwhile, swimmers spend entire summers soaking wet without transforming into permanent mucus factories. Honestly, parents mainly wanted children to stop sprinting outdoors half-dressed like escaped mental patients after bath time. The medical warning simply worked better than yelling, "Because I said so." Human civilization runs surprisingly well on exaggerated parental threats and casserole recipes. 22. Sitting too close to the TV ruins your eyes. Every American child born before flat-screen televisions eventually heard. This warning screamed from another room by a parent who hadn't even looked up from their newspaper yet. Sit too close to the television, and apparently your eyeballs would melt like cheese left on a dashboard in Arizona. Kids were treated like reckless astronauts exposing themselves to dangerous radiation every time they inched closer to The Price is Right. This myth actually gained traction decades ago because older television sets emitted tiny amounts of radiation before safety standards improved. Naturally, parents transformed a minor technical concern into a lifelong dramatic speech delivered during Saturday morning cartoons. Modern TVs, however, don't permanently damage vision from proximity alone. Sitting close might cause temporary eye strain or headaches, especially after binge-watching 6 straight hours of crime documentaries narrated by suspiciously calm British men. But your eyes won't suddenly fail because you watched sitcom reruns from 3 feet away. The funniest part is that kids often sit close simply because they can see better, meaning parents accidentally blamed the television instead of noticing their child might actually need glasses. Meanwhile, today's adults spend entire evenings staring at phones 6 inches from their face while accusing televisions of being dangerous. Humanity truly evolved into portable screen goblins remarkably fast. 23. Chewing gum stays in your stomach for 7 years. This myth traumatized children for generations. One accidental swallowed piece of juicy fruit, and suddenly kids believed they'd carry a sticky neon wad inside their body until college graduation. Parents delivered the 7 years statistic with absolute courtroom confidence, despite it sounding like something invented by a pirate doctor during a fever dream. In reality, swallowed gum usually passes through your digestive system, like most indigestible substances. Your body doesn't digest gum completely, but it also doesn't store it forever like a cursed archaeological artifact trapped beside your ribs. Still, the myth spread Because adults desperately needed children to stop swallowing random things. Fair enough. Kids in the 1980s treated safety instructions like optional side quests anyway. If adults said, "Don't eat that," children immediately responded with the energy of raccoons investigating garbage cans. The number 7 also sounds scientifically magical. Not 6 years, not 8, exactly 7. Humanity loves suspiciously specific fake numbers because they sound authoritative. Meanwhile, the human digestive system already survives hot dogs, gas station nachos, and carnival cheese products legally classified somewhere between food and industrial sealant. But yes, somehow gum was supposedly the real threat. Parents basically invented gastrointestinal horror stories because saying, "Please stop swallowing candy," apparently lacked dramatic flair. 24. If you're dizzy, put your head between your knees. For decades, dizziness triggered one universal response. Sit down, shove your head between your knees, and wait dramatically while nearby adults hovered like concerned baseball coaches from 1974. This advice became so widespread that people treated it like ancient medical scripture carved onto diner coffee mugs. Now, leaning forward can sometimes help certain people feel steadier temporarily. But the old head between the knees ritual isn't some magical reboot button for the human nervous system. In some cases, especially when standing up too quickly afterward, it may even make things worse. The myth survived because fainting terrifies everyone involved. Humans instantly panic when somebody gets lightheaded. Office workers suddenly transform into emergency response philosophers shouting random advice they learned from sitcoms and Little League practice. And honestly, the position itself looks absurd. Fully grown adults folding themselves like lawn chairs inside pharmacies while strangers pretend not to stare. The body gets dizzy for countless reasons: dehydration, stress, low blood sugar, standing too quickly, illness, or simply surviving a 3-hour DMV visit under fluorescent lighting powerful enough to erase hope. Yet humanity somehow believed every cause shared one universal treatment involving awkward yoga performed beside vending machines. Modern medicine is complicated, but people still trust advice originally passed down from one sweating uncle at a barbecue in 1982. That's oddly beautiful in a deeply concerning way. 25. Coffee stunts your growth. Entire childhoods were shaped by this myth. Adults guarded coffee like it was radioactive fuel capable of shrinking children into garden gnomes. One sip of Folgers, and apparently your growth plates would slam shut forever while jazz music played ominously in the background. The belief became wildly popular despite weak scientific evidence. Caffeine can affect sleep, anxiety, and energy levels, especially in kids, but there's no solid proof coffee permanently stunts growth. Humanity basically looked at short adults who drank coffee and ignored millions of tall caffeine addicts walking around carrying giant thermoses like emotional support cylinders. The real reason parents feared kids drinking coffee was probably much simpler. Children absolutely do not need additional energy. Society already struggles containing 8-year-olds after birthday cake. Giving them caffeine would turn Chuck E. Cheese into a federal emergency zone. The irony is that adults themselves survive almost entirely on coffee. Modern civilization practically runs on caffeine and passive aggression. Entire office buildings would collapse emotionally before 9 a.m. without it. Meanwhile, children watch exhausted adults clutch giant mugs labeled "Don't talk to me until this is empty," yet somehow still think coffee is a glamorous symbol of adulthood. Then they reach 40 and realize caffeine isn't sophistication. It's survival with a caramel flavor option. 26. Bandages help wounds. Heal faster because air is bad. For years, people treated tiny cuts like exposed nuclear reactors. Immediately slap on a bandage, seal it completely, and pray the dangerous outside air never touches it again. Childhood medicine cabinets looked like miniature emergency bunkers full of cartoon-themed adhesive strips and mysterious brown antiseptic bottles that smelled like punishment. Bandages absolutely protect wounds from dirt and irritation, but the old belief that cuts must never breathe became exaggerated over time. Modern medicine generally supports keeping wounds clean and slightly moist, rather than aggressively suffocating them beneath 17 layers of tape like hostage situations for knees. Still, people became emotionally attached to bandages. Children especially love them. A microscopic paper cut instantly required enough gauze to survive a shark attack. Some kids collected character bandages like trading cards, Others mysteriously healed slower just to keep the SpongeBob bandage longer. The funniest part is how dramatically adults responded to tiny injuries in the past. One scraped elbow during a bicycle accident, and suddenly neighbors appeared carrying peroxide like Civil War battlefield medics. Meanwhile, your body already possesses an incredibly sophisticated healing system working nonstop behind the scenes. Skin repairs itself constantly without dramatic motivational speeches or decorative unicorn bandages. Honestly, half of childhood first aid was just adults trying to stop kids from touching gross things while pretending cartoon adhesives possessed magical powers. And somehow, it worked. 27. Multivitamins automatically make you healthier. The multivitamin industry convinced humanity that one tiny tablet could compensate for decades of questionable life choices involving drive-through cheeseburgers and microwaved cinnamon rolls. Every morning, millions of adults swallow colorful capsules with the confidence of medieval knights taking enchanted potions before battle. Now, vitamins absolutely matter when people have deficiencies or specific nutritional needs. Certain groups genuinely benefit from supplements. But the idea that one generic supermarket vitamin instantly transforms everyone into optimized health machines is wildly oversimplified. Humanity basically invented edible reassurance. The funniest part is how emotionally powerful multivitamins feel. Someone eats deep-fried mozzarella sticks, skips sleep for 3 nights, survives entirely on coffee, then takes one vitamin gummy shaped like a dinosaur and thinks, balance. The wellness aisle itself looks like a casino designed by pharmacists. Bottles promise energy, vitality, focus, immunity, metabolism, happiness, and probably spiritual enlightenment by Tuesday afternoon. Meanwhile, the actual fundamentals of health remain painfully boring. Sleep, movement, nutrition, hydration, stress management. But nobody wants to hear that because consistent lifestyle habits doesn't sound nearly as exciting as Ultra Mega Platinum Maximum Wellness Formula. Humanity desperately wants health to come in convenient tablet form because vegetables and exercise require effort, and effort has terrible marketing. Humanity survived plagues, wars, and reality TV, yet these myths still refuse to die. Which medical myth fooled people the hardest? Tell us in the comments before somebody recommends garlic toothpaste again.